Stop. Stop for a second. Every conversation you have, every decision you accept or resist, every relationship you navigate at work or at home is governed by a set of invisible rules. They are not taught in schools. These are the laws of Niccolo Machiavelli, and they operate every day, whether you acknowledge them or not. You live by these laws, even if you are unaware of their existence. Everyone does. They are the fundamental mechanics of human interaction, the physics of power. They determine who rises and who is overseen, who persuades and who concedes, who wins and who loses. These are not abstract theories confined to dusty political treatises. They are present in what a person chooses to show you and, more importantly, in what they deliberately hide. To understand these laws is to see the scaffolding behind the facade of daily life. To ignore them is to be a pawn in a game you do not realize is being played. The foundation of this entire system rests on a single, unyielding observation of human nature. There is a core principle that dictates why a person will always act in a predictable manner under certain pressures. As the Florentine himself noted, humanity is so fundamentally simple and so thoroughly driven by the needs of the moment that one who sets out to control a situation will always find others who are willing to be controlled. What this means is that human behavior is not a mystery, it is a pattern. People are not chaotic variables, they are complex but decipherable systems. They react to immediate pressures, to their perceived needs, and to their most basic emotions. Their actions are not random. They are the logical outcomes of internal calculations, whether conscious or not. Hope, fear, ambition, and want are the levers. Once you understand which lever moves which person, their next move ceases to be a surprise. It becomes an expectation. This predictability is the starting point for everything that follows. It is the solid ground upon which all strategy is built. This leads us to the first law. Law number 1. Every action is rooted in self-interest. This is not a cynical worldview. It is a mechanical one. Do not waste time or energy trying to appeal to a person's virtue, their charity, or their abstract sense of fairness. These are secondary qualities, luxuries of thought that are quickly discarded under the slightest pressure. The prime mover of every human being is their own perceived benefit. This does not always mean money or status. Self-interest is a broad, powerful current. It can be the desire for security, the need for validation, the avoidance of discomfort, or the quiet satisfaction of being proven right. Even an act that appears purely altruistic serves the self-interest of the giver, providing them with a sense of moral superiority, social standing, or personal peace. Observe the colleague who offers unsolicited help on your project when a deadline looms. This is not a gesture of pure goodwill. It is an investment. They are purchasing information. They are learning your weaknesses, your project's vulnerabilities, and your methods. They are positioning themselves as indispensable, creating a subtle debt that they may call upon later. Observe the manager who publicly praises your work. The praise is for you, but the act is for the team. It is a demonstration of reward, a tool to motivate others through vicarious encouragement, reinforcing the manager's own image as a benevolent and effective leader. To understand this law is to stop being surprised by betrayal or disappointed by a lack of loyalty. You begin to see people's actions not as personal attacks or blessings, but as calculated moves on a board. Your task is not to judge the move, but to understand the interest that drives it. Once you see the interest, you can predict the direction. From this understanding, the second law naturally emerges, governing how the world perceives these self-interested actions. Law number 2. What is seen is more important than what is real. People do not have the time, the energy, or the inclination to conduct a deep investigation into your true character or the exhaustive details of your work. They judge the surface. They react to the performance. Your intentions are weightless. Your private struggles are invisible. The project you labored on for 6 months, with all its complexities and setbacks, is judged in a 10-minute presentation. The reality of your effort is irrelevant. The perception of your confidence and competence during those 10 minutes is everything. This law operates with brutal efficiency in every meeting, every negotiation, every social gathering. Consider 2 individuals presenting a case. The first is meticulous, brilliant, and has the superior data, but is visibly nervous. Their voice wavers, they avoid direct eye contact. They present their findings with a perfunctory, apologetic air, as if not wanting to take up too much time. The second individual is less prepared, their data perhaps even flawed, but they are composed. They speak with a measured, even tone. Their posture is open, their gestures are deliberate, and their gaze is steady, moving from person to person around the table. They present their weaker case as an undeniable fact. Who wins the room? It is always the second individual. The audience does not respond to the hidden reality of the data. They respond to the visible display of conviction. The appearance of strength is taken as evidence of actual strength. The appearance of doubt is taken as evidence of a fatal flaw. Your colleagues, your clients, your superiors, they are all an audience. They are judging the play, not the script you wrote in private. Therefore, you must become a master of the stage. You must manage your appearance with the same diligence you apply to your work. The image of competence, of control, of unwavering resolve is a form of power. It creates a reality of its own, a reality to which others will react and adapt. Write in the comments, which of the laws have you already seen in your life? This focus on appearance is not about deception for its own sake. It is about controlling the narrative, a concept reinforced by another of Machiavelli's core truths. He understood that a leader who cannot be both loved and feared should always choose to be feared. Love is a bond held by obligation, a fragile thing that men will break whenever it serves their own interest. Fear, however, is a bond held by a dread of punishment, a dread that never leaves. This is not a call for cruelty. It is a lesson in emotional gravity. Positive emotions like affection, loyalty, and gratitude are conditional and fleeting. They depend on continued benefit and shared sentiment. The moment the benefits cease, the affection wanes. Fear, in this context, is not terror. It is respect for consequences. It is the clear, unspoken understanding that your words have weight, that your decisions are final, and that there is a cost to opposing you. An amiable leader who is loved may be bypassed. A respected leader who has established clear consequences for non-compliance will be obeyed. The emotion of respect, rooted in a healthy fear of negative outcomes, is a far more reliable and stable tool for ensuring action than the fickle and unreliable emotion of love. This principle underpins the third law, which deals with the true levers of human motivation. Law number 3. All human behavior is governed by pain and pleasure. Forget complex psychological profiles and nuanced motivations. At the most fundamental level, every decision a person makes is an attempt to move towards something that brings them pleasure or away from something that brings them pain. This is the binary code of the human animal. Once you can identify what an individual defines as pleasure and what they define as pain, you hold the keys to their entire motivational structure. Pleasure is not just hedonism. It is security, recognition, promotion, influence, profit, and the feeling of being on the winning side. Pain is not just physical harm. It is humiliation, financial loss, demotion, exclusion, uncertainty, and the stress of a heavy workload. When you want to influence someone, you do not appeal to their logic. You frame your proposal in terms of their pain/pleasure calculus. Do you need your department to adopt a new, difficult software system? Do not talk about its efficiency or long-term benefits. That is abstract. Instead, paint a vivid picture of the pain of the current system, the wasted hours, the frustrating errors, the risk of falling behind competitors. Then, present the new system as the direct antidote to that specific pain, the path away from frustration and toward ease and security. Do you want a rival to abandon a particular strategy? Do not attack the strategy itself. Find a way to associate it with a painful outcome for them personally, a risk to their reputation, the disapproval of a superior, a threat to their own departmental resources. People will endure almost anything to avoid a clear and present pain, and they will expend immense energy to attain a tangible pleasure. Your power grows when you stop selling ideas and start selling solutions to pain and pathways to pleasure. If you want others to see this video, please like it. With an understanding of what drives people, you must then shape how you communicate your own intentions. This brings us to the fourth law, a principle of action and communication. Law number 4, be decisive in action and ambiguous in speech. Your actions must be swift, clear, and irreversible. When you decide on a course, execute it with a finality that leaves no room for debate or reversal. Hesitation is a signal of weakness. It invites challenges and creates opportunities for your opponents to undermine your position. A decision, once made and acted upon, becomes a fact on the ground. Others are forced to react to your reality, not the other way around. A manager who waffles on a personnel change creates weeks of anxiety and infighting. A manager who makes the change cleanly and quickly, presents it as a done deal, and immediately outlines the new path forward, ends the conversation. The action itself absorbs all argument. Conversely, your speech, particularly concerning your future plans and true motives, should be a study in ambiguity. Never reveal your entire strategy. Never let anyone know the full extent of your thoughts. Use language that is open to interpretation. Give general assurances. Speak of broad goals and shared values. This serves two purposes. First, it keeps your opponents guessing. Unable to pin down your precise endgame, they cannot form an effective counter-strategy. They waste their energy preparing for multiple possibilities, none of which may be your true intent. Second, it gives you maximum flexibility. By not committing to a specific, detailed path, you retain the freedom to adapt as circumstances change. If you state publicly that you will achieve a goal using method A, and method A becomes unviable, your credibility is damaged. If you state only that you are committed to the goal, you are free to switch to method B or C without losing face. Let your actions be sharp as glass. Let your words be like smoke. I remember a time years ago when I was part of a team competing for a high-stakes internal project. The lead of the rival team was a man named Marcus. He was charismatic, well-liked, and vocal about his team's revolutionary approach. In every meeting, he would lay out his grand vision in exquisite detail, explaining their multi-phase plan, their innovative techniques, their projected timeline. He was transparent, he was passionate, and he was building a powerful consensus around his own brilliance. My team's approach was, by contrast, more conservative, but also more robust. My own manager, a quiet man named Elias, was the architect of our strategy. In these same meetings, while Marcus captivated the room with soaring rhetoric, Elias was reserved. When asked about our progress, he would offer calm, measured responses. He would confirm we were on track. He would speak of our commitment to a quality outcome. He would mention our focus on risk mitigation. He was professional, confident, but utterly opaque. He never once revealed the specifics of our method, a method which contained a unique solution to a core problem the project faced, a problem we knew Marcus's team had not yet solved. For weeks, the senior executives were enamored with Marcus. His performance was masterful. He was seen as the career frontrunner. Our team was seen as competent but uninspired. The perception was that Marcus was innovating while we were merely executing. Elias did nothing to counter this. He simply ensured our work continued, quietly and with precision. 2 weeks before the final decision, a major and unforeseen shift in market regulations was announced. The change rendered a key component of Marcus's detailed, publicly declared plan completely unworkable. His entire strategy, which he had so proudly displayed, fractured. He was forced to scramble, to publicly backtrack, to explain to the executives why his revolutionary approach had failed its first contact with reality. The perception of his brilliance evaporated, replaced by the perception of recklessness. In the final presentation, Elias calmly laid out our strategy for the first time. It was not revolutionary, but it was solid. And he revealed our unique solution to the core problem, a solution which was, incidentally, completely unaffected by the new regulations. We had anticipated a different category of risk, and in doing so, had built a more resilient system. We won the project. Elias never gloated. He never said, "I told you so." He did not need to. His decisive, quiet action had spoken with more force than all of Marcus's speeches combined. He had let Marcus defeat himself with his own transparency. That day, I fully understood the meaning behind another of the Florentines' observations. A true leader must possess the qualities of both the lion and the fox. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize the traps, and a lion to frighten the wolves. Elias had been the fox, recognizing the trap of overcommitment and public declaration. His decisive action in securing the project was the lion's roar, a display of power that needed no further explanation. This dual nature is essential for survival and dominance, and it leads directly to the final and perhaps most crucial law of everyday power. Law number 5. Fortune favors the bold, but sustained power requires adaptability. Boldness creates opportunities. It is the catalyst. A single audacious move can shatter the status quo, vault you over your rivals, and seize an advantage that others were too timid to pursue. Waiting for the perfect moment is a recipe for inaction. The perfect moment is created by a bold stroke. When you see an opening, you must act without hesitation. This is the part of the law that most people understand. They see the glory in the charge, but they miss the second, more vital component. A single victory is not a reign. Sustained power, the ability to hold the territory you have taken, does not come from repeating the same bold move. It comes from adaptability. The landscape is always changing. Your allies today may be your rivals tomorrow. A market that is favorable this year may be hostile the next. The strategy that brought you success will, if repeated endlessly, become a predictable weakness that your opponents will exploit. The lion is powerful, but it is the fox that survives the winter. This law is in effect every single day. The manager who gets a promotion through a bold, innovative project, but then tries to apply that same aggressive template to the slow political work of senior management will quickly find himself isolated. The company that dominates a market with one disruptive product but fails to adapt as competitors copy and improve upon it will become a footnote in history. You must constantly be assessing the terrain. You must be willing to abandon a winning tactic the moment it ceases to be effective. Your loyalty is not to a method. Your loyalty is to the outcome. Be bold enough to seize power and be flexible enough to keep it. This means being a hawk one day, a serpent the next. It means being loud when noise is a weapon and silent when silence is a shield. Do not become a prisoner of your own past successes. Write down which law turned out to be the most accurate for you. If you want to understand human nature more deeply, subscribe. The main thing is ahead. There is a final piece of wisdom from Machiavelli that ties this entire system together. It is a stark and powerful thought. It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. This means that power is not something that is given to you. It is something you create. A job title, a position of authority, a place on an organizational chart, these are hollow containers. They have no inherent power. The power comes from the person who occupies that role. It comes from their understanding of these laws, their ability to command respect, their strategic actions, and their control of the narrative. A weak man will diminish a powerful title. A strong man will make a minor title seem powerful. Understand these 5 laws, and you will begin to transform. The constant anxieties of social and professional life will begin to recede. The actions of others will no longer seem confusing or malicious. They will appear as what they are, predictable moves in a game with clear rules. You will become calmer because you will understand the mechanics at play and will no longer be blindsided by them. You will become stronger because you will know which levers to pull to achieve your objectives. You will become less vulnerable because you will see the self-interest behind the smiles and the strategy behind the words. You will become more strategic, viewing your career and relationships not as a series of random events, but as a long campaign to be managed. You will become more free in your decisions, unburdened by naive expectations of others, and clear-eyed about what is required to secure your own interests. You will stop being a piece on the board and start becoming a player. If you agree that Machiavelli's laws work every day, write "I see" in the comments, like and subscribe so as not to miss the most important thing. Chapter 2. You have seen the game board. The polished mahogany table of the conference room, the grid of cubicles, the digital org chart. They are not furniture or floor plans. They are a map of a battlefield, and you have just been handed the key. The story of Elias and Marcus was not a cautionary tale. It was a demonstration of physics. It showed you the levers of power and the gravity of perception. You now understand that human behavior is not an unpredictable storm, but a current governed by laws as immutable as those that pull the tides. You know the 5 laws. The question that hung in the air at the end of our last lesson remains. It is the only question that matters. You see the pieces moving around you, driven by the binary code of pain and pleasure, of self-interest and survival. You see the stage and the performers. Now, what will you do? Will you remain a pawn, moved by hands you cannot see, sacrificed for strategies you do not comprehend? Or will you become a player? To become a player, you must master the tools of the game. Today, we will forge your first weapon. We will dissect the most misunderstood and potent of the 5 laws, the one that shatters the comforting illusion of meritocracy and replaces it with a stark operational truth. What is seen is more important than what is real. This is the law of performed reality. You believe your hard work, your late nights deciphering spreadsheets, your meticulously crafted code. You believe these things have intrinsic value. They do not. They are like gold ore buried a mile underground. It is real, it is valuable, but it is functionally worthless until it is mined, refined, and displayed in a jeweler's window. The effort is the ore. The perception is the polished gold. In the economy of power, only the latter is currency. Your colleagues, your managers, your stakeholders, they are not omniscient. They are busy, distracted, and operating from a fractional sliver of information about you. They do not see the hours you labor, they see the one-page summary you present. They do not know the complexity of the problem you solved. They know only if you looked confident when you delivered the solution. They do not judge your true character. They judge the character you perform on the corporate stage. Your reality is the scaffolding behind the facade. It is necessary to hold everything up, but no one ever applauds the scaffolding. They applaud the facade. Your task is not to stop building the scaffolding. That is the work, but to become the master architect of the facade. This requires a fundamental shift in your allocation of energy. The amateur dedicates 100% of their effort. The professional dedicates 80% to the task and 20% to the framing of the task. This 20% is the highest leverage activity you will ever undertake. It is the work that governs all other work. How do you begin to control what is seen? You begin by mastering 3 tactical arts: narrative control, strategic visibility, and the armor of ambiguity. First, narrative control. Never allow your work to speak for itself. It is a mute object, and others will happily speak for it, weaving it into their own narratives. You must be the first and most authoritative interpreter of your own actions. After a meeting, you will be the one to send the summary email, framing the conclusions and subtly centering your key contributions. When you submit a report, it will be preceded by a simple 3-bullet-point email to your manager outlining the key strategic takeaways, translating your dense labor into the language of their interests. You are not just delivering a deliverable, you are delivering a pre-packaged victory. You are handing them the story they will tell their own superiors. Second, strategic visibility. This is not about being the loudest person in the room. That is the way of Marcus. All performance, no substance. A hollow drum that sounds impressive until it is struck too hard. Strategic visibility is about being seen at the right moments, by the right people. It is the art of the fox. The fox does not roar through the forest. It moves in silence, and its presence is known only when it has already secured its prize. Your visibility should be a series of precise, impactful strikes. A single, insightful question in a high-stakes meeting is worth more than 1,000 perfunctory updates in a team huddle. A well-timed offer to help a senior leader with a pet project gives you more exposure than a year of flawless attendance. You must learn to identify the moments that matter and vault yourself onto the stage for those moments alone, retreating into the shadows to prepare for the next. Let me give you a concrete example. I remember a young analyst, Isabel. She was a genius, a true prodigy with data. She would retreat into her work for weeks and emerge with analyses that were nothing short of brilliant. She would then email these dense 50-page reports to her department head and wait for the accolades. They never came. The reports sat unread. Her genius was the equivalent of a scream in a vacuum. Her peer, David, was a far less talented analyst, but David understood the law of performed reality. He would take one of Isabel's core findings, secure her perfunctory approval, is this the main point, and spend a day turning it into a single, devastatingly simple slide, one graph, one headline. He would then find a reason to present that slide to leadership. He wasn't stealing her work. In his mind, he was liberating it. He was mining the ore. Who do you think was promoted? David's career ascended like a rocket. Isabel stagnated. She saw him as a charlatan, a parasite on her brilliance. She was wrong. He was a translator. He understood that leadership did not trade in the currency of raw data. They traded in the currency of clarity and confidence. David performed the value that Isabel only created. Her reality was a hidden masterpiece. His was a billboard. On the highway of corporate life, only the billboards get read. This brings us to the third art, the armor of ambiguity. This is the direct application of our fourth law: be decisive in action and ambiguous in speech. While you control your public narrative with surgical precision, you must simultaneously cloak your future intentions, your private opinions, and your full capabilities in smoke. When people cannot fully categorize you, they cannot easily dismiss you. Let them see your results, but not your methods. Let them see your confidence, but not your calculus. When asked for your opinion on a contentious issue, offer analysis, not allegiance. There are significant risks to option A, primarily in deployment, while option B presents a challenge in market adoption. The critical variable is X. You have demonstrated intelligence without making yourself a target. You have performed competence while retaining total flexibility. Your words become a shield, a cloud of ink that allows you to maneuver unseen, while your decisive actions, the projects you complete, the presentations you nail, define you. This is how the laws interlock. You use ambiguity of speech, Law 4, to protect your ability to shape perception, Law 2. You understand that the self-interest of others, Law 1, means they are too busy to investigate the reality, so they will accept the performance you give them. Your task, then, is not to become a liar. It is to become a performer and a translator. Deceit is the tool of the desperate amateur. The master strategist does not need to lie, for they understand a more profound truth. Reality is simply the story that wins. Your job is to write that story, to direct that performance, to build that facade. Stop waiting for your work to be discovered. It will not be. Stop believing that substance alone is enough. It is not. The world is a stage, and the rewards go not to the most deserving actor in the dressing room, but to the one who commands the audience's attention under the lights. Your assignment for the coming week is simple but transformative. It is not to work harder, it is to work visibly. For every significant task you complete, you will perform one act of translation. Condense that project into a single, powerful sentence. Frame that email not around the action you took, but around the problem you solved for the recipient. Before you speak in a meeting, ask yourself, how will this be perceived? Not, is this 100% correct? You must begin to treat perception as a deliverable, as real and as critical as the work itself. This is your first step in moving from piece to player. You are learning to forge reality. What is one way you have seen perception trump reality in your own life? Share your observation in the comments. And if you are beginning to see the scaffolding behind the world stage, please like this and subscribe so as not to miss the most important thing.